Doolittle, who joins us as always at this time to talk about what's going on in the options market and more importantly in the broader market. This is still a macro story right now for this market, of course, with Evergrande, with a big Fed meeting and so much more going on out there.
Yeah, lots of uncertainty. So the question is the one that you all have been talking about all afternoon and really everybody all day. Is this a dip that folks want to buy? Right now it appears that it could be, especially with the S&P 500 holding that 100-day moving average, the VIX coming in. Let's talk, Romaine, to the ultimate dip buyer out there, Alan Nuckman of BullseyeOption.com. Thanks so much for joining us as always, Alan. And I say that because I think since interviewing you over the last 5 or 6 years, you've always been bullish, even when things have been a little bit rough. And over time, that strategy has worked out well. So what do you think about this dip? Is this one you're buying?
Well, again, I think I've only been smart enough not to try and pick the top of the market. So I've just been going with the flow, going with the forces. And I don't think anything's different this time either. So we're seeing a pullback. We finally got that 5% that everybody was looking for in the S&P. Again, we're only 3% off the all-time high just a couple weeks ago. And what we've done is we've come back to the 4,400 level, which was the target back in the summer after trading sideways between 4,000 and 4,200. So markets often come back to their breakouts. The fact that the S&P is holding and had a big reversal bottom yesterday, and we've got the VIX coming back down are both positives. We need to build on it, but I don't think it's anything new this time.
Yeah, that S&P 500 yesterday afternoon, finding that 100-day moving average and moving off of it, that was certainly encouraging, especially given the fact that bonds never rallied all that much. There wasn't a true flight to safety. But that VIX, Alan, that curve, as it should be, is steepened, but now the VIX is well above 20. So do you see it coming back in under 20 to support the idea that stocks are going to go higher from here?
Well, first, you're talking my language. I'm old school. Before we had the VIX, we used to look at the flow into bonds as a safety valve and see how the markets reacted. Markets didn't even rally much in bonds at all yesterday. Very modest move and no follow-through today. So again, that's a positive sign. And if you still look at Eurodollar futures, they're not pricing in a rate hike till December of 22. So nothing's changed there. To get back to the VIX traded between 14 and 29 here recently in the last few months. 2150 is a midpoint pivot. And if you look at it, that's also would fill the gap down below. So there's a gap above in the S&P and there's a gap below in the VIX. If those get filled, then we're back to normal.
Well, we're taking a look at a terminal chart here, Alan, that Katie Stockton of Fairlead Strategies was kind enough to share with us on Smart Charts a couple weeks ago. And she's saying that if it's below 25 and above 15, it's sort of right in that range. And on today's action, we are indeed back below 25. So perhaps it supports your point that we could be going higher. So in terms of buying the dip, you would do it through options on an individual named Juniper. Why do you like Juniper for this?
Well, I do everything through options, and I use a very simple stock substitution strategy where I buy an in-the-money option instead of the stock because it gives a better payoff, it has lower risk, less capital requirements. So PLTR is a very attractive chart because I'm seeing money flow into it, smart money flow. It had rallied 10% in 6 months, and it was 5% off its high just a couple of weeks ago. It's been between 20 and 30 for 5 full years, so 25 is an important midpoint support to lean on. The 25 call for November is trading at 325 or so. It's 275 or 250 in the money. It's got a high delta of 70. And if we get back to the top of that range at 30, this option would double. So it's a good limited risk play that gets a big payoff and a modest move in an underlying stock.
Well, Alan, I think our whole segment here has had a little bit of an old school flair to it because Juniper, that's a name that we used to talk about a couple decades ago. Alan Nuckman of BullseyeOption.com. Thanks so much for joining us for Options Insight as always. And Taylor, back to you.
And thank you to you, Abigail, of course, for always doing the segments for us. In the meantime, let's get a check on some other big stories that we're following at this hour. PayPal joining the growing number of firms offering a high-yield savings account. It's part of a broad overhaul of the financial technology giant's app. The account will be provided by Synchrony.